The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program host and guests and are not necessarily those of this station, management, staff, and sponsors. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time now for the Crown Car Care Show. Call in with questions and comments, 220-9788, 220-WSTU. Now, here's your host.
Welcome, everybody. It's July 1st, 2019. I believe the year is officially half up.
Yeah, wow.
It was just Christmas.
How did this happen?
I don't know, but I tell you what, it's hot as heck out, and I know everyone's going on vacation.
Summer is officially here.
Yep.
Yes, wow.
Yep, and I really haven't noticed a big decrease in traffic here in Martin County. I'm sensing that it is now not much seasonal.
That's true.
Am I right?
There's a lot to what you're saying, but I can tell you that a lot of locals are now taking this time for their vacations. I'm starting to see some of that vacation time roll.
Well, we were locals and we took our vacation. Our second week in June. We always go to North Carolina. Up in the mountains.
So good. So cool.
But we always can't wait to get back.
Yeah. It's good. Good to go. Good to come home.
Yep. We have a fabulous show today. We're going to talk transportation like we always do, sponsored by Crown Car Care.
Right. 2
locations to serve you. We have one in Palm City. We have one over on Cove Road. If you're a new listener or an old-time listener, we'd love to have you as a customer of ours. If you're looking to find a home, head over and see Mike over at our East location. We're always looking to grow a little bit over there. We have plenty of room. Mike's been with me for 10 years, and gosh, we've been in business on our 14th year.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
Time flies when you're having fun. And today's going to be a good show. We've got some news that we're going to talk about here in a minute here, and some interesting news.
Yes, but first, I want to ask you and our listeners if you have any notion about what 5 million pounds of thrust that you deal with power.
I don't even have a notion of what 5 million pennies is. Which
5 million pounds of thrust. What would that sound like if you were to give that a sound?
I don't know, but let's see if we can hear it.
Let's find out. Here we go. This is audio recorded from 10 miles away.
Oh, wow. It's shaking the studio. Oh my gosh, there's people out looking at the windows thinking the whole building's shaking.
That is a good idea, what 5 million pounds.
And let me guess, it's the Falcon Heavy.
It is indeed. That just launched not too many days ago.
Yeah. That was a commercial launch, I believe.
Yes, it was.
And he's been having great success.
Yes.
Reusable rocket, reusable booster.
Yeah.
And they launched and land right on the pad that they're supposed to launch and land on.
Yes.
And he's having, I'm going to assume, economies of scale, and he's able to reuse these things, so it's becoming more efficient.
Yes, the side boosters on the Falcon Heavy were previously used earlier this year.
Oh, fabulous.
And
I
so
like it.
You just refuel them and
refuel them and wipe them off a little bit. Probably got to wax them a little bit, get some of the dust off.
Yeah. So, so like you said earlier, there's lots going on. Of course, we have spoken of this dual clutch gearbox, or also referred to as the transmission.
DCT is what Ford calls it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading some news just the other day that it could cost them billions.
So they already paid $4 billion on a previous lawsuit.
2017. And just to give you a notion on the problems with this transmission, listeners out there are things in the automotive manufacturer dealership world. They put out these things called technical service bulletins, which are basically communications between the mothership and the different dealerships and the technicians to bring to light known issues and known fixes, updated part numbers. There have been 20 technical service bulletins on this horrible execution of maybe a fabulous idea. And that's what I'm going to say. Maybe a fabulous idea, but a horrible execution. And it's just something is terribly amok with the way they've done it. And in fact, at the end of July, Mark Fields, the current CEO, is being forced, and I read forced, to testify to several lawsuits that are still going on. In fact, they're revisiting that one in 217 and saying that what's the word that you use when you receive the benefits of the lawsuit, or whatever the people receive is not enough. It wasn't enough in regards to what they should have gotten.
Right.
And they're revisiting this.
Right. Right.
So this thing is a smell that won't go away. It's kind of reminds me of this airbag deal.
Exactly. And that's also in the news, the
Oh.
Takata airbags. Yes.
This thing won't go away. Takata is just, they're trying to sink that ship and run. And she keeps revisiting.
Yeah. Let's see now. I've got that here. Here it is. It's under Honda. Honda is doing a recall. Honda is ahead of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration scheduled for replacing the Takata airbag inflators. Normally, manufacturers wait for the NTSB to suggest the recall, and they say, we're going to get ahead of this. We're just going to unilaterally do the recall. And they have, so the recall's gone out. There has been, up to March, confirmed 14 deaths and over 200 injuries in the U.S. alone related to the Takata airbags, front inflator ruptures.
Here's my prediction. I wonder if we're getting into the area of no matter how you make it, we are at a limited lifespan for these airbags. And as you know, and this is one of my other bit of news,
well, there's chemistry involved. So
that
right.
there might be a lifespan.
Yeah.
And if we're keeping the cars longer on the road, maybe this is just planned obsolescence and it is going to be part of the process.
Yes.
To replace these things. Because I'm starting to believe that it's not really a design issue or a execution issue on the part of Takata, but maybe it has to be that way because it has to be that way. As you know, it's a chemical agent that reacts and causes a gas to be generated, which then fills in milliseconds these bags.
Correct.
And I believe maybe because it's a corrosive material to start with and the way it works, it might be only what we got.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
I just can't buy that there's been negligence and or malfeasance in construction that's causing this.
Well, I think the earlier airbags that were changed out during the first recall.
Yes.
My guess is they're calling those back now because the replacement airbags
It's just as bad as the
were
one.
the same chemistry as the original airbag,
Which is kind of what you were talking about on your car
Yeah.
behind the scenes that you and I discussed. Well, we'll put a gas tank in there, but it's the same one and there's no warranty anymore. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff doesn't make sense.
It makes you scratch your head.
You really got to scratch your head. In fact, it gets right into another story. The average life, the average life of a car on the road today is 11.8 years, which gets into if we're keeping these cars longer, and we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
they're made better. Then maybe there's some things on these cars that will not withstand the test of time and they have to be replaced if it is going to be in fact still on the road.
right. Just
Almost like how we have emission testing, there have to be some kind of legislation in regards to how long will an airbag stay an airbag before it's no good.
Yeah, and it could be just like you change your tires.
Well, it's like old ammunition. I mean, ammunition or firecracker. I mean, anything that's explosive.
Right.
It might not be a forever thing.
It's a time date sensitive. Yes.
There you go.
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
the word I was
mhm,
looking for.
mhm.
And I think this is where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Because I just can't believe you're going to put, poor Takata. I don't even think there is a Takata anymore. And if there ever was, they've all jumped off some big bridge in Japan at this point.
Oh my God.
I mean, can you imagine
I know.
it just must be bad news bears.
Right. So from Honda, we go to Toyota, and we spoke about this last week.
Yes.
They now have cars that will turn themselves off.
We did.
And that's a marvelous idea.
They seem to be leading the industry on it.
Right. And it's because of their concern about carbon monoxide, which is a colorless, odorless gas that could cause permanent brain damage or death.
We're starting to see tweakages in technology for the betterment of the car. Look at how Tesla now has that thing with the window or something. If your dog's in it, I believe it'll roll it down a little bit. Right.
Nice.
So, we can use the software that we have now to modify things in case there's an issue that would arise in the life of a human that causes
or
a problem or a pet or anything like that.
Right.
Here's another bit of news.
All right.
This year is the 35th anniversary. As you know, Chrysler was the big innovator on the minivan.
Yes.
Chrysler came out with the minivan, the
Yes.
Caravan or Grand Caravan. It's
I
been
had
35 years.
Yeah.
But there's a side two to this story.
Okay. All right.
Sales have dropped precipitously.
Mhm.
The Pacifica is down 29% and the Caravan is down 15%. People aren't buying minivans anymore.
Right.
And this is their meat and potatoes. You know, it's made in Canada. I believe it's made in Windsor, Canada.
Right.
The minivan. In fact, there was to be a 2-week closure in the summer. FCA, which is, as we know, the Fiat Corporation of America,
Right.
was closing the plant for upgrades as well as repairs or whatever they do, kind of like what schools, you know, they're doing it in extended 3 weeks now because there's just no demand.
Summer changeover.
Well,
Yeah.
and they've extended it 3 weeks. It's not good.
Yeah.
No one's buying these things.
Right.
They can't give them away.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not a bad vehicle.
Right.
It's just
No demand.
people don't want them.
Yeah.
People don't want horseshoes anymore either. Right.
Or
Except
buggy
for good
whips.
luck.
Yeah. Buggy whips. Yeah.
Buggy whips. I just think it's
Yeah.
but you know what's coming back, Frank, is
What's
station
that?
wagons. Volvo's got that new station wagon
Yeah.
out that's a hot little ticket. And you know, they're made in America here.
Mm.
There's a plant here. So
Nice.
quite interesting that a lot of we've talked about this in the past. I am so happy to see
Mm-hmm.
that in our country, we are seeing jobs come back.
Yes.
We are seeing manufacturing come back. In fact, we're seeing foreign investment coming into our country
Yes.
to build plants.
Right.
And what tells me is where's the place to be in the world is in America.
Right.
Everyone wants to be here. In fact, people are trying to jump the fences, and even non-existent fences, people are trying to get in.
And the other reason why, if you are in the manufacturing business, you want to have the ability to buy and use power from a source that you know that's dependable.
Oh.
That's another thing to think about.
We have a stable electrical grid. Is that
And-
what you're referring to?
the electrical grid and the fact that we do not have to import our power materials such as oil.
And we
or
have
gas. Right.
we have a stable political government system
Right.
that as much as we don't think it is
Right.
compared to everywhere else, we're stable.
And our taxes now as a country are lower
They
for
are.
manufacturing.
So our
So-
country is the place to be in, and I'm quite proud of it. And
Right.
as we always say, hail to the chief.
Mhm.
Right, he's done a darn good job.
Right.
Whether you voted for him or not,
Right.
he's our president, so
he's the
we have to
president of all
respect.
the-
We all respect him,
Right.
and we pray for him.
Yes.
So, with that, I will say the last Corvette, Frank, is running off the assembly line. The last front engine C7 Corvette
Oh no.
just
That
sold. The
isn't
last
so.
one they auctioned it off. What do you think it sold for?
The last Corvette.
Yeah, they did
Ever?
the one on the production. No. They're coming out with a C8, which is a mid-engine.
Oh,
This is the mid-engine.
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 So
So,
it's gonna
it
be-
kind of looks like a
It's going to be what?
like a McLaren kind of looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the last one sold for, what do you think the number is?
Jeez.
It's about a third of the way up on that thrust meter. 2.7 million.
Wow.
2.7 million. The last Corvette sold at auction. Because, you know, that's the special. It's the
Sure.
last run of the C7, which is the front wheel drive. That's it. I just can remember when it was redone.
Yeah.
So you're listening to the Crown Car Care Radio Hour.
Wow.
And Crown
Yes.
Car Care is a sponsor of it. We have 2 shops here in Martin County. We have one in Palm City and we have one in Stewart. And, you know, we're always looking for technicians.
Well, that's
In fact,
good.
I'm going to give an email address. If any of you out there are good technicians that are ASE certified and are looking for a good home, if you want to email me your resume, it's queenofcrown1@gmail.com. That's Queen of Crown, all one word, and then the numerical 1@gmail.com. We'll always be taking a look at them.
Right.
So let me know.
That's right.
Very interesting.
Good.
Let me
Good.
see if I got any more news here. We do,
Okay.
and then we'll get into the show. What we're going to talk about in the show is we're going to talk about some of the cars that are in Crown. It's always interesting to see the mix
Yes.
of cars because
Yes.
they're always
Each one tells their own story.
they all tell their own story, and then we're
Mhm.
going to talk about repowering or redoing things on a car. Is it worth the investment?
Yes.
A very good question, and there's a lot of factors that come into play when you think about it.
Yes.
So we've talked about the Chrysler minivan, and it troubles me because FCA, as you know, I'm sure is laden with debt, and I don't think this is something they want. It was about Google. We've always been talking about, Frank, these driverless cars.
Yes.
Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, I've heard of
Okay.
that place. Yeah.
Yes. There was a bunch of people trying to get to the airport,
Yes.
and there was a bad accident.
Oof.
And what do you think Google Maps did?
Redirected folks.
Well, of course, they took them on a dirt road.
Oh.
Of course, it was raining this weekend,
Uh-oh.
and 100 people got rerouted, and about half of them got stuck.
Stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Good thing Google isn't rerouting those driverless cars.
Yeah.
right?
Yikes. Yikes.
Yeah.
And these are with real pilots.
Real pilots.
behind
Oh,
the
there was
wheel.
some angry people. You can imagine missing flights and
Whoa.
stuff. Oh, it was bad.
Oof.
Yeah, Google, 100
Yeah.
drivers
All
got,
right.
get stuck in the mud.
Send your plane ticket bill to Google.
Google,
Incorporated.
and then if there's no, right. So very
Oh
interesting.
my God. Jaguar and Land Rover will build electric cars in the UK factory. So that was just recently announced.
As we know, Jaguar's they're not doing as well as they want to.
Right. But they're doing the EV thing.
They are. They got that F-Pace is electric. They've got that F-Pace, which is that SUV Jaguar that they do have full electric. I saw one when I was up in Amelia Island. I was up there a couple of months ago for the big auction that they have up there and the car show. And they had one up there that was full electric. Quite a nice vehicle.
Yeah. Good.
I don't know what the range is on it, though. I believe it's about 230 miles, which is, my opinion, not quite enough. We're getting there, though.
Yeah.
500 million. Well, it could be more, but I believe they're peeling it off for these lawsuits.
Yeah.
The dual clutch transmission.
Oof.
Gosh, I bet the engineers probably can't hear the end of it. He's probably retired, early retirement.
Right.
Right. So let's take a break. Why don't we take a break, Frank? And then we'll come back and we'll talk about a day in the life of Crown, and we'll give you some interesting cars that we're working on as we speak today. We'll be right back.
Alrighty. back. You're listening to the Crown Car Care Show with your host, Todd Harris.
And now it's a day in the life of Crown.
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay, my first car on tap is a 2013 Audi A6. And I will tell you, it's a fine automobile. As you know, it's owned, Volkswagen owns Audi, just like they own Porsche.
Right.
And it's an A6, which is kind of like their top of the line.
Yeah.
Quite a nice ride.
Yes.
Laden with
Stuff.
doodads and accessories. The smell of the fresh leather, everything about it is visceral. Everything about it is nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just
Done
nice,
right. Done right.
nice.
Yeah.
But it came in for rear brakes.
Okay.
And I will tell you that it has obviously all cars have parking brakes, which is what you would, if you're on a hill, but the parking brake's an electric motor on each caliper. And I will say, let me explain back up here.
Yeah.
All wheels behind the wheels of your car, that all you listeners out there, are brakes. And for the most part, we have rotors and calipers and pads that stop the vehicle. But when you put that, either you pull that arm up or push that foot pedal down, you put your parking brake on, which is an additional support other than the park in the transmission to keep the car from either rolling and keep it stable.
Right.
We don't have a lot of hills around here, so most people don't use it, but it does exist.
Right.
A lot of people don't use it enough, and we get them in our shop where they're rusted and they stick on, but they don't unstick.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. But this Audi came in for a rear brake pad replacement. And to do that, you need to have a scan tool to retract the electric motor. You have to reset the count on it. There's all kinds of processes. It's not just putting brake pads on.
Right.
And I thought it would be interesting to talk about this because we're seeing the blend of mechanical with electronic things breaching into the area of maintenance and repair that we haven't seen in the past. We're seeing now where scan tools, computers, and software are becoming an integral part of doing a mechanical repair on a vehicle, namely the brakes.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting. There are electric motors on each caliper that will engage the brake pads. And it's the same brake pad.
Right. Instead of hydraulics.
It overrides that because obviously you're not going to have a hydraulic pump that's going to put when you're on park. So it's an electric motor that pushes those pads against the rotor on both sides.
Okay.
So when you're on a hill or when you want to feel more secure, and I argue that you really should use a parking brake, and that would be an interesting topic of conversation because there's not much holding your car in park on just in the transmission. It's not a lot.
Right.
You'd be surprised. In fact, if you knew the truth of the matter, you might want to always use your parking brake. Okay, do you get what I'm saying? If you know what I know,
yes.
you might not want to trust just putting it in park.
When you park on a slight incline or even decline.
Because it can load the tranny up.
Right. And when you turn the car off and the car continues to roll either forward or backwards
Well, if you pay attention to it now, all you listeners out there, pay attention to it. When you're on a slight incline, when you put it in park, you'll see what I mean. The car still moves a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a
quarter inch or so. It's just a smidgen, but it's loading up. There's a load. There's a force.
Right. Against the tranny is now working as your brake.
It's called the parking paw. Is the technical word that we use inside the transmission. Parking paw.
Puts unnecessary stress on
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So but what we had to do was we had to hook up. Now, one of these scan tools, this particular one that we use, the cost of it is $15,000.
Whoa.
For this tool.
Just a tool.
Just a tool to use to do this brakes. So you hook it up into a port, an access port on the car, and it connects Bluetooth wirelessly to this dedicated standalone. It's more than a tablet. Because it has to have electromechanical things. It's not just a computer,
right?
Because we do tests with wires and things that need to have a mechanism to connect the mechanical world and electron world to the digital world. Okay, but this particular one is software. So you have to go into the Volkswagen subsection brakes, and you have to put it into the mode where you're going to be able to release this electric motor and unwind it all the way so you can get the pads out. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to put the brakes on, brake pads on. The new pads wouldn't fit,
right?
Because the motor kind of keeps up with the pads as they wear. Think about that, because you don't want to have the motor spinning. It keeps up. It learns as the brake pads wear.
So it must work on a worm screw.
It does.
Yeah.
And it keeps track of the counts. There's a certain amount of counts, and there's a known amount of counts
Yeah.
for the average lifespan of a brake pad.
Okay.
Think about that. So it kind of knows. But you have to start, not only do you have to expand the electric worm gear so you can get the old pads off and the new ones on so it'll fit.
Right.
And of course, you have to put new rotors on too.
Of course.
The days of turning rotors or whatever that stuff is over.
Yeah.
You don't turn rotors, resurface, because most rotors now have a special coating on them for heat and thermal resistance as well as corrosion resistance.
Right.
And you can't cut rotors. In the old days, we used to $69 brake job, you cut the rotors and put a new pad on there and be done with it. And those days are over.
Yeah.
So this particular car had to get new sensors too on the rear for the indicators that tell you when the brakes do get low.
Yeah.
There's a brake sensor. So 2 sensors,
And
2 rotors and brake pads, and then you have to pull out those, make those motors unwind. But there's still yet more.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. So then you have to learn the new motors into the new pads.
Okay.
So there's a learn process. So the
Mhm.
motor then creeps up to the pad just before it kisses it.
Okay.
So it now has a starting point, right? Think about that, because the new pad is thicker.
yeah.
Okay. So then you have to zero out the counts that have been keeping track of how much it's been wearing the brake pads. And you can look on the scan tool, you can see if they're both even and pretty close. A little bit difference on side to side, but you would think it would be pretty close, but
Yeah.
they're not exact.
Yeah.
But the counts kind of tell you how much the brake pad's wearing, but you have to reset that too. So you have 3 steps
Yeah.
above and beyond doing things with your hands to get greasy and dirty when you pull the wheel off and put the rotors and the sensors and the pads on. So
Yeah.
the average guy can't do it. You got to know what you're doing. We do it, Crown Car Care. We have 2 locations, one in Palm City, one in Cove Road. We can do it at both shops. If you have an Audi, we'd love to have you as a guest. Love to have you as a customer.
Yeah.
But there's more to this stuff than meets the eye.
Yes, there is.
And
and
you got to know what you're doing.
Unusual that the back brakes would be due because the front brakes generally wear first.
We've
right?
done his front ones already.
See.
So he's in for round 2. He's a customer of ours.
All right. See.
So this is not a first-time customer.
Got it now. Okay.
So we did the
Yeah.
rears. But I just thought
Right.
it'd be a nice little story to tell
Yeah.
to our listeners out there how this world of computers and software and active brake control, because remember, this thing's all involved with collision avoidance. Everything has to be spot on. There's sensors on the front rear bumpers. If it detects something, it puts the brakes on. If you swerve, it puts the brakes on one side or the other to avoid you spinning out or going into a ditch. I mean, there's quite a bit of technology there, and it all has to be calibrated and done properly. It's not just a magic hook the thing up and it tells you what to do.
Right.
You got to know what to do. It doesn't tell you to do it. And it doesn't do it automatically.
Right.
You have to do it, which gets into training, expertise. And that's why I argue
Knowledge. Yeah.
if you come to Crown Car Care, you're going to get that stuff.
Yeah.
And the average, all I'm going to say is we do it.
There
And
you
that's all I can tell you. I don't know anything else about the world. But I can tell you it can be scary. That's all I'm going to say.
Imagine the technology on the brakes with the new EVs, because those are actually
Well,
are used
they're generating the electric motor.
Yes.
Well, they don't wear out as much, actually.
Wow.
And did you know that the brake pedal feel that on an electric car, as well as the hybrids, is fake? It's a spring and oil. It gives you the brake sensation of the putting the brakes on, but you're really it's tricking. It's a visceral sensory feel, so you feel like it's brakes.
Okay, so it's just to make the human feel good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all done through algorithms and software to regenerate. That's what 50% of all hybrids and electric, they regenerate the braking force that would normally go off on as heat, kinetic, potential and kinetic energy gets regenerated in that brushless AC motor, and it turns it into a dynamo and puts the juice back into the battery pack. That's how a hybrid and electric car can go a little bit further on range.
Yeah.
It saves the juice.
Yeah. Especially on hilly terrain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this thing with the Audi, and this is only one subsystem,
Yeah.
everything. And it's not like you just hook it up and it does it.
Hmm.
You got to know how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm telling you, everyone listening, it's
This is-
not.
This is not shade tree mechanic
no,
stuff. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And
not
I
for
would
the-
argue And why we excel at it is because we're all interested in it.
Yeah.
If you're interested in something, you're going to be ahead of the curve.
Yes.
And I will say that at Crown Car Care, we are ahead of the curve because we
Nice.
are interested in it. I love the technology. I have a radio show. So if you're looking for a home for guys and girls that care, come to Crown Car Care. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
All right. Want to talk about another car I had in?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about how about an 87 Rolls Royce?
Whoa.
Okay.
A Rolls Royce.
1987 Rolls Royce, and this particular customer has about 6 or 7 of them. So has a Lamborghini Espada. He has several Alfa Romeos.
Oh my God.
But this 87 Rolls Royce came we're doing a bunch of work to it, but I'm going to talk about the one problem because it's very interesting.
Okay.
Now, as you know, well-heeled drivers of Rolls Royces, it would require too much effort to move the movement of the shifter, because there's some
it's a column
energy. Oh my goodness. And so what it is it just glides, and there's an electric motor that does the shifting on the tranny for you.
Oh my God.
Kind of like what yours is that we just talked about.
Yeah.
So it's an automatic transmission, but it has a big electric servo motor because we don't want to put any stress or strain on the hands of the owners of Rolls Royces.
Power assisted.
It's power assisted. And you imagine.
Good night, Irene.
So here was the problem. It kept blowing the fuse for it, so you couldn't get it out of park.
So it's a short.
Yes. Now, this transmission that's in this Rolls Royce, don't tell anyone, but it's a General Motors transmission.
Sure, why not?
It's a General Motors transmission in the Rolls Royce.
Sure.
But there's a big electric motor on it that shifts it.
Okay.
And it was blowing the fuse, so the owner couldn't get it out of park.
Wow.
And here's what I found.
Oh.
This big electric motor that's mounted on the outside of this transmission, which is retrofitted on because it's just a box unit from General Motors.
Yeah.
It's a torque. It's a TH400, which is 3-speed with actually it was a 480, so it's a 3-speed with overdrive. So what they've done is they've mounted a motor that moves the rod that you would normally move. Us plebeians, the regular people, we have to move the shifter.
Yeah.
But they don't need. That's too much work, for heaven's sakes. So this electric servo, Frank, got some moisture in there.
Oh, no.
And the way this servo works, it works just like a window motor. It flips polarity, and I'll just say it changes directions. So
Okay.
let's keep it simple.
All right.
Well, some moisture had built up, and it caused the terminal to get residue and rust built up to the point where it created conductivity to the case, which is obviously ground, and it was creating a short. So anytime that one terminal was positive, it would blow the fuse. But remember, every time that gear moves one way, it flips. Positive becomes negative and negative becomes positive. That's how you reverse the motor.
Yeah.
Right. So just like an electric car.
Yeah.
So the moisture was conductive because there's minerals and rust, and that is conductive.
Right.
Right. So just like water is conductive, as long as it's, has minerals and things in it.
Sure.
It'll conduct electricity through it. You get electrocuted with water.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's what was happening with this servo. It was getting electrocuted and blowing the fuse. So we took it down, put it up in the air, and took it apart, and we found it. So it was no part was broken. We just had to get rid of the crud and reseal it. So
Nice.
now the Rolls Royce can go back to effortless shifting. So that's a good one, huh?
Yeah.
87 Rolls Royce. That's the mirrors that you're going to be cutting for me.
Nice.
Getting cut.
Okay.
So that's
All right.
the Rolls Royce. Let's talk about another one that's
All
in
right.
the
Sure.
Day of Crown. Honda.
All right.
And don't know if anyone has a Honda out there,
Yeah, just maybe
but
a
you
few.
probably know that you have to do your timing belt. Timing belts are one of those. Well, it's not rubber. I guess it's rubber. It has cord in it.
Yeah.
Kind of like a tire, almost a thin tire with gear cogs on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's maintenance. You
Used to be a chain. You back in the day, right?
Yeah, and now they're going back to chains because they're realizing that if you have an interference motor, which means the valves could hit the pistons if it breaks, you could buy motor, which makes an unhappy Honda owner.
Yeah.
Well, this particular car came in, towed in, and it would start and die. It would start up and then run and then die. And what would happen is the timing belt had jumped a tooth, so it was advanced. And because the cam sensor and crank sensor were out of correlation, it would sense that and then shut it down because it knew something was wrong. but the plot thickens.
The thick plot.
Okay, the reason why did the timing belt jump?
Yeah.
Because there was a crank seal that was leaking oil, which got all over the belt and caused it to get rubbery and expand, which enabled it to jump. Plus, the oil's a lubricant, so it kind of just jumped the teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know now the cause of it was the oil crank seal. The belt jumped tooth, so we knew that. But there's even more to the story.
More.
Okay, when it jumps tooth and advances, what happens to the engine? It runs a little bit hotter. So it blew a head gasket.
Oh.
Because apparently it blew a head gasket. Okay, so the head gasket was blown. Okay.
Eesh.
And then the plot even thickens more because when we got it done, one of the cooling fans didn't work, or it would only work if you tapped on it with a screwdriver.
Okay.
So do it just here, Mr. Customer, just take this screwdriver. This is how you fix it, unless you want to. So when it all sorted out in the wash, you needed a timing belt, a crank sensor, right? A fan and a head gasket. And there's even one more because when it overheated and ran hot, there's a thing called an idle air control valve, which is notorious on Honda. If they overheat, they stick. So it had to have an idle valve, air valve, because it wouldn't hold an idle. And that was the consequences of it running hot. It warped it. There's a pinnacle inside there that moves. And if it gets hot, it'll warp it slightly so it won't move. It binds up. So now you have no idle. You got a car that cranks, starts up and dies. You got an oil leak. You got a cooling fan. You got an overheating and you got an IAC, and we all got to find it in one shot.
Wow.
That's complicated stuff.
Yeah.
And here we go again. Would the average shop find that?
Yeah. Well, maybe
I beg to differ. I don't.
One or two of those items, but not everything.
Yeah. And you talk to your son, I know, knows Honda as well.
Yes.
And it's quite interesting. You really have to find the upstream and downstream damage on these vehicles. You just can't fix what's broke.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
And it takes brain power. You have to think about this stuff and look at it and test it. And
all these systems are connected.
They're all interconnected.
Right.
So it's complicated business here at Crown Car Care. Let's take a break.
All right. But you got the right team for the job.
We do.
All right. And we'll be right back. So stick with us.
Hey, we're back.
Indeed, we are.
We're back on the final stretch, Frank, and we're going to talk now about what about if your car, we talked about how old the average car is now. What
Yeah,
I say it
11
was
years.
11.8, almost 12 years.
Almost
So
12.
people are keeping their cars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you know, just like the Takata airbags don't have a lifespan of forever.
Yeah.
Your engine does not have a lifespan forever, nor does your transmission or other major sub-assemblies for the drivetrain.
Right.
Okay. So what do? You've been taking care of your car. You've been changing your oil religiously at Crown Car Care.
Yes.
You've been getting all your work done at Crown Car Care. And your engine, after 250,000 miles, dies.
Whoa. Now
Now what? The car's paid for.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. Let's say it's a 2011 F-150 with a 5.4 3-valve engine. You got 200,000 miles on it, and the engine dies.
Wow.
What do? The car's paid for.
Yeah.
It's nice. Interior's nice. The paint's nice. If the engine didn't die, you'd probably still be driving it, right?
Right.
Unless you'd be dreaming maybe about another car, but you certainly wouldn't be getting rid of it.
Right. Just a power plant issue.
Power plant issue.
Yeah.
Now, do you do it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a big, that's like the one, that's probably the biggest repair or chunk of money that you would ever put back into a car.
Right.
And it's a big decision. Do you do it? I mean, it can be up to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $5,000, $4,000. Let's say $4,000.
Okay.
4,000.
All right.
Use that number.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it worth? Do you do it for $4,000?
Yeah. As opposed to a $20,000 plus
No,
vehicle.
more than that. 35,
Yeah. Okay.
40.
Okay.
And what I always say is the sales tax and the destination fee is twice what your engine is.
All right. Yeah.
So, or do you fix it? I think
I'm going to lean towards fixing it.
I am too, and I'm
Yeah.
finding that a lot of people do too. But
Yeah.
now you have to find which brand do you put in?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm finding that a lot of this manufacturers, the factory stuff isn't up to snuff.
Yeah.
Okay, the company I've been dealing with, and I have had nothing but high praises to say about it, is Jasper Engines.
Right.
Fabulous
Right.
organization out of Jasper, Indiana. Local company there. I mean, they're an Americana success story.
They are indeed.
They are. They have complete vertical integration. They deliver the engines and transmissions themselves. They have an outstanding warranty. They actually stand behind their products and put you in a hotel and get you fixed if there ever was an issue and you're out of town. It's a real warranty, and then they're real people. So from that side of it, I can say we got you covered on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So this time, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm talking about, is it worth doing it on the vehicle?
Yeah.
Now, some people don't take care of their vehicle.
Right. So, I mean, because if you change the engine, you say, well, okay, well, what's going on with the transmission and other things?
Right. And
major components.
let's say you've done an air conditioning system within the last 3 years, because that's
Right.
usually, air conditioning isn't forever either.
Right.
It's not.
I know it.
It's not. It's like the airbags.
Yeah.
There's a planned obsolescence. They just don't last forever.
Yeah.
So if you've been doing your maintenance and then you know what you got, even though the book value on the vehicle may be nothing, but that I don't think comes into play
Right.
at all. Because if you know what you got, right, a human's worth only a couple dollars. I mean, but the value of life is fabulous.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's if you've been maintaining your vehicle, the paint's good, the interior's clean as a whistle and nice, and there's really no issues other than the power plant, I would argue you're a candidate
Yeah.
for a repower.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's also the option of a used motor.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to save a little money, we can get a low mileage used motor out of the quote unquote junkyard, which is now a whole different animal. And we could talk about that on one of our shows too. What's this?
Used parts supply.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All these junkyard owners are now billionaires.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It used to be a scraggly, gross business.
Right.
Not now.
Right.
Oh, no. It
Yeah.
is high dollars,
Right.
big bucks. It's all computerized. Everything's online, categorized, and numbers. Oh my gosh. It's a big industry.
Nice.
So you can get good motors, and there's warranty. You even know the VIN number of the thing came out of. So you can do a Carfax on the VIN to see if the guy maintained it before.
See?
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah.
When you have a paper trail. So because Carfax, all my stuff's on Carfax.
You bet.
All my repairs go on Carfax. So it's kind of nice history. But you can go use motor too. And some motors I rebuild. We will certain motors I'll take apart and fix for them. So there's three options on that. And it really comes down to one, do you love the vehicle? Do you like it? Do you want to fix it?
Right.
Or are you done anyway? Or are you already done? You were just itching for a reason to go get another
Right.
car.
Right.
I can't counter
touch
that with
yeah.
any intelligence other than sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Right.
Well,
It's
that's
like
what
buying a
makes
new
the-
pair of shoes or getting a new watch. It is what it is.
Right.
So, but if that's not the issue, then I will argue with the price of today's cars and the reliability of today's cars and the fact that they do last and the subsystems do last.
Mhm.
It is very smart. It's a smart investment to fix it.
Yeah.
And if any of you out there have a vehicle that maybe needs a motor or you're sensing it, come and see us. We'll give you a free estimate. We'll check it out for you. We'll give you a price on different options. And it really can make the difference. It can change the vehicle because generally when we put a new motor in, we'll put new motor mounts in. I always put a new radiator in. There's a lot of things that change, not just in the motor, that make it nice.
Yeah.
You follow? And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize how their car degraded on performance until we do a new motor.
Yeah.
Oil leaks will stop. Oil leaks will stop. So there's all kinds of pluses to it. Plus the car's paid for. You don't want to get into a payment. Well, maybe you do. Can't counter that. I can only give you the logic sense.
Right.
Looking at the car, is it worth fixing? And I'll generally be able to tell right away. If it's beat to heck, it's maybe not a candidate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a candidate for Snake Road Salvage.
Yeah.
Or the junkyard itself. And hope you don't wish that motor on somebody else that buys a used one. Right? Because
Yeah.
you can always get a pickle on the used. They
Right.
try to screen this stuff.
Right.
But and same with the transmission. Transmission, frankly, is also a limited lifespan thing. Some die early, some die under warranty. I mean, like yours is an automatic, but it was really designed as a manual, made to be an automatic. Automatic transmissions, I would argue, last a couple 100,000 miles, 250 maybe. And then it's time to rebuild them.
Yeah.
The problem with rebuilding them, though, if you're not getting it done by a reputable place, there's upgrades and enhancements that we now find out about these transmissions that get put into the pot when they do it. So like with Jasper, you're getting all kinds of upgrades to the valve bodies, to the clutches, to the torque converter. All the known trouble spots are being fixed. If you're overhauling it yourself,
Right.
I will argue they're not, because you can't afford to do it.
Right.
Now, you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
There is science behind
You're
this
going to
stuff.
actually get new and improved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Where if you
100%.
stay local and just get it rebuilt, you're not.
Yeah,
You're getting
yeah.
same old.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you get a warranty. Generally, it's a fabulous warranty. 3 years, a lot of times 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
Towing, get a hotel room if it breaks. You know what I mean? They're quite good.
Right.
Now the manufacturers don't
No.
they don't offer that generally.
No.
I mean, there's a warranty, but it's a little more difficult. But there's a warranty, and there
Right.
can be said. Also, something can be said. Now, not all engines are available through rebuilders like Jasper.
Yeah.
Take for example that 3-cylinder Honda or a 3-cylinder Ford. That's a nightmare. It's a turbocharged one that they put in the Fiesta, the little teeny ones.
Yeah.
They keep blowing up. We've done.
Do they really?
Oh my gosh! But they're not available on the aftermarket. No one wants to touch them. So there are certain motors that you can't get.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're stuck with the manufacturer.
I actually drove a Fiesta as a rental.
You did. How'd you like it?
It was a wonderful car.
Now,
It was
did
a
that
wonderful-
tranny? Was it the weird?
same tranny, but I didn't have the problem.
Now, how's yours shifting now? Since you
Much better. Much better.
Are you, Frankie, satisfied?
I am satisfied that Ford looked after it. Still, the jury is still out if it was 100% repair. But
Let me ask you
yeah.
this: if let me just find his name here. If Mark Fields testifies and they say that each owner is entitled to $2,500,
Yeah.
would you be first in line?
I would definitely get in line for that.
That's what I just want to know.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to know.
Well, only
just wanna
because of the grief factor for me to
you've been
put
through some
over
grapes.
40,000 miles
I
of,
know.
of
So, and it wasn't smooth driving,
right.
right?
I mean, I didn't pay for
Just think if you got stuck in the mud in Denver, how would you get out?
I didn't show up at Ford and say, look at,
You didn't drive it up to Mark
want-
Fields when you went up to Michigan there?
I want a car that, it's going to be a problem child, and it's going to, that have to be in the shop all the time. I didn't go there for that.
I know.
Yeah.
And we know that because they
Yeah.
had 40 TSP. So I understand. But
Yeah.
they did do decent with that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Right.
I'm not going to say they did go all the way.
Right.
Right. So.
But, but yes.
So basically, in summary, on these
Yes.
powertrains and transmissions, it really is a case by case
It
basis. It
It
depends on the overall condition of the car, and that'd be something you'd want us to look at. If it call any one of our locations, 772-781-8000, or our other phone number is 772-286-6212. That's Mike over there at Cove Road. You can make an appointment at either one of our stores if you're interested in a repower, an engine, a transmission, a differential. We can certainly help you out.
All
Been a great
right.
show.
Yes.
Sure enjoyed it.
Thanks
July 1st.
July 1st. Yes. Thanks for all that great information. And we'll see you again next week right here.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.